We're standing in the courtyard right outside my office and looking at something that to a European or a North American would be extremely surprising. And it's a tree here. This is a eucalyptus, and you can see that it has two different types of leaves on it. You have these broad flat leaves growing near the base, and these are the leaves that are characteristic of the tree while it's still small in size. But then growing slightly higher up, you have a very different type of leaf. The leaves at the top are what we more normally associate with eucalyptus, those thin strips of leaves that hang down. Now, why is it that you've got a tree that's producing two different types of leaves? And to understand that, you've got to appreciate the type of environment that eucalyptus survive in. They're a fire-adapted species. Their seeds are particularly good at germinating straight after a bushfire has broken out. And we're all familiar from the news with the bushfires in Australia. A fire is a deadly occurrence. It's something that will easily kill a tree while it still has a very thin stem. And therefore, if you're a small tree, you want to grow out of that phase as fast as possible. You want to put on as much height and as much girth as you can so that you can get past that vulnerable stage in time for the next fire whenever it comes. In order to make sure that they do that, the eucalyptus, when it's small, invests in these big flat leaves that have a large area for photosynthesis, that catch a lot of the sun and that allow it to fix a lot of carbon very quickly. This means that it will grow fast as long as it has enough water available. But there's part of the cost. You see, being exposed to so much sun means that they're losing a lot of water, that they're likely to dry out, and they're going to be vulnerable to damage from dehydration. And so it only retains those leaves as long as it has to. As soon as it's got itself to a height where its branches are going to be above the level of the ground fire and where its stem is going to be thick enough, then it can start to invest in its adult leaves. And the adult leaves are thinner, their tissue is thicker actually, they're more well protected against drought, and they hang down so that the sun's rays don't hit them directly. So once it's done all this rapid, fast growing, once it's got the carbon it needs to get up to the adult size, it then switches to this different type of leaf. Often when we see these on our field course in Portugal, students are confused when they first encounter them. They initially treat them as two different species, and it's only later that they realise that the seedlings and the trees are completely different in the appearance of their leaves. And it's one of the reasons why leaves aren't always the best characteristics to use to identify plants, because they can change so much through the ontogeny, as we call it, of the plant. Ontogeny is its development as it goes through its different stages. And here we have two quite distinct stages. The really first group of plants that showed the sorts of flowers and structures that we're used to now were the magnolias. And here we have a magnolia tree. This is the perfect season to look at them.